What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. We got a fun stream for you today. We're going to be talking about staying safe when you get outdoors, based on the gear choices you make, and just, common sense type stuff, as well as Adam, K6ARK, is joining us to talk about his favorite winter radios and other gear to get out there. So we'll be joining you soon. Enjoy the memes as we kick things off. How am I coming in? Everybody hear me okay in the stream? Thank you very much. It's cold out there. It's cold out there. We just got back from Thomas Mountain scoping things out, or Adam did anyway, or at least the desert that we're talking about. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for clicking on the Ham Radio Crash Course. We're going to be talking about getting outdoors with ham radio, what to expect, gears you might want to bring, because a lot of you live in colder places than I certainly do, but I still got some pretty decent gear for when it gets cold out there. So thanks again for joining us. This is live, so we will be taking questions as we go. Usually when we do interviews with Adam, it's a lot of free-form, just kind of discussion. So make sure you post your comments in the chat, just, at Ham Radio Crash Course, or say question. I will see it, and we'll get it that way. All right. Cold. Yeah, cold does mean 20 degrees in this case. In Thomas Mountain could get as cold as 20 degrees. We're obviously talking about the campout that we're going to be doing next weekend. Adam, K6ARK, and I will be at Thomas Mountain, southeast from where I'm at, just outside of Temecula, California. So it should be a lot of fun. Let's hop on over to the web here, chat about some of the things going on, and then we'll bring Adam on. All right, so reminder, you guys, 'tis the season. If you're starting to get a little cold, check out hamtactical.com, and if you go to all hoodies, confirmed warm enough to last the Texas freeze that we had a couple of years ago. We had a couple of people buy these, and they said they were nice and toasty in there. Also, 'tis the season to show off your appreciation for FT8, so make sure you check that out if you're interested at all in that. But yeah, we do have the FT8 hoodie still available there. All right, I have a contest going on, or I will have a giveaway at the end of this month. So the link is in the description. Go fill it out. It's a Google form. We're giving away a bunch of K6ARK antenna kits and other goodies. We're going to be doing 3 coffee and ham radio antenna kits at this point. I will be giving away my Chameleon Lefts antenna and my Chameleon F-Loop 2.0, as well as some secret giveaways, all antenna related. November is the month of antennas, particularly for those of you that are in colder climates. You're going into a world where it's going to get a wee bit colder. You may not be going out and doing ham radio, so it's a good time to maybe build a kit or whatnot. So very excited for that. All right, reminder as well, Thomas Mountain currently is where we're planning on making landfall next weekend for our camping trip. The link is in the description. It's about 10 miles of dirt road to get you to the campsite. It's fairly primitive camping. We will not really be running a campfire or anything like that, but we will have stoves, and we'll be talking about that as well. Adam will be talking about a lot of things we deal with out here in California. You basically need a high lifted vehicle to get out there, so Honda Accords probably can't make it, but a CRV, maybe a Toyota RAV4 can probably do it, no problem. Dirt road, not off-road, if that makes sense. And all the links for the stuff I will be talking about is on the Amazon A store, which is also linked in the description for some of the things, in this case, ham radio camping gear. And I did a little bit of curated list here on some of the recommended items that I would take out or do take out in the field. All right, before we get Adam out there, we've got his website up to date and linked in the description so you can check out the cool projects that he does, like his tiny little antenna kits. Those are available on Amazon and come in a variety of different styles like BNC and SMA now for those of you that have the true SDX. So a lot of fun there. I'm going to bring Adam on because I realized in my haste to get up and running, I kind of forgot the time and I forgot my beer. So I'm going to introduce him right now. How's it going, Adam?
It is going well. Thanks for having me tonight, Josh. I'm
Thanks for
looking
being on.
forward to the camping trip next weekend, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun, despite some potentially cold weather out there.
Yeah, we have a plan, regardless of
Yeah,
whether it's if we can't go to Thomas Mountain because of snow, which could happen, or it already has, but the depth of snow, if you will, then we will change the location to something that's much easier to get to, I think, in general, right, Adam?
that's right. Yeah, we have a backup plan. You can find the info in the HRCC Discord under the Thomas Mountain Campout thread in there, or channel in there. We've got some links pinned for both maps and weather and things like that, and we'll make I think a final decision on the destination probably on Wednesday or Thursday once this next storm kind of works its way through and we figure out what happens with it.
Yeah, so far we got a pretty good list of people. It seems like that are going. It's not going to be a big group. For those of you that want a kind of full-fledged camp out experience, that will be April, late April next year. My wife's actually booked an entire campsite that we're going to roll out to, and there'll be food prepared and all kinds of stuff that we have planned. That is going to be in Ramona, California, at a wonderful location, zero noise floor, and it's right on a POTA, so it should be a lot of fun. Adam, I'm going to let you tell
Which
what's that?
also,
Yeah,
but before you move on
go ahead.
from that topic, that place where that campout's going to be is like 10 minutes from my house.
I know.
So
That
I
happened to
will
work out
most
great.
certainly be there.
That's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
going to be a lot of fun.
I will let you talk a little bit about what you've been up to because you got a lot of projects coming up while I grab my beer. So take it away.
All right, sounds good. So, one of the latest projects I've been working on is a new link for linked dipole. Let's see if I can get this to focus here for you. So this is a 3D printed link. This one is designed for, I think 26 gauge wire, and it works well with that. And this uses, it's got strain relief holes for the wire, and then it uses the 2 millimeter banana plug, which the female version kind of sinks into the plastic there, and the male version comes, you can pull that out to open the link. And it's got a nice little storage hole here for when the link is open and you don't want those to accidentally connect. So I'm going to share the STL for this on Thingiverse and through my website. I'll post it in the Ham Radio Crash Course Discord as well. But it's a pretty useful little tool, and I actually just rebuilt my linked dipole with a bunch of these links. I printed specifically color-coded ones for each band, so I know which band is which. The other thing that I've been working on lately is this. It is a Yaesu memory keypad. These are MX keys, so like keys, buttons like on your standard keyboard at home. And it plugs in with just a 3.5 millimeter jack here. I ordered about 10 of these boards when I had some other boards built and ordered from JLC PCB. And I've got about 6 of these left. So if anybody happens to be interested in one of these for your rig, for activations or for contests, it's got clear keycaps with it that you can put custom labels on to say whatever you want for each button. And $20 shipped. Just send me a message and I'll get one headed your way. I think I've got about 6 of them left. So yeah, some fun stuff in the works there.
Oh, very good.
The beer.
Yeah, what did you?
What are you drinking tonight, Josh?
I have a Einstock. Einstock, right? That's that. Einstock. Oh, jeez. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and show you on the overhead. That's what I've got. It's a winter ale. I generally like winter ales, but this one is a little herbaceous for me. What do you got, Adam?
I've got a pumpkin imperial pumpkin ale that was sent by a friend on the Ham Radio Crash Course Discord in exchange for some antenna equipment. So cheers.
A pumpkin. Yeah, cheers to you, indeed. A pumpkin, imperial pumpkin. That's got to be pretty strong. What is that? Like a 10, 9%?
I want to say it's 8 point something or nine. I forget, but it's tasty stuff. Very smooth, and you would never guess it's as strong as it is.
I bet. So there's a link in the description. Adam shared this really cool video about some of the search and rescue volunteers in Boulder, Colorado, among other areas, about people going outdoors more than ever, people wanting to experience nature, which, we're big thumbs up on that. Adam himself is also a search and rescue volunteer, so he has a lot of experience in, helping people when they get themselves in trouble. So he's seen a lot of the do's and don'ts, I guess, or more of the don'ts, I guess you could say, Adam, you've experienced. So Adam's a really good, obviously, resource for the staying safe when you're outdoors, but also from his prolific outdoor ham radio experience. So I thought it'd be fun to have him come out and kind of give us a 411 on staying safe when you're out there, what gear choices you should do, specifically when it starts to get cold, as we're likely going to experience in whichever location we go next weekend, either the top of a mountain or in the low desert. Both are going to be cold. So I guess we'll start with that. What do you, as far as going outdoors, what do you take to be prepared, both for ham radio and just personal preparedness when it starts to get cold?
Yeah, well, I mean the basics of the 10 essentials always applies. I don't know that we need to rehash that, but look up the 10 essentials. There's a different 10 depending on who you ask, but they're all good stuff on there. So those are key things to bring. And then when it's cold, clothing is going to be your sort of your first line of defense in staying warm. And one of my favorite tools for cold weather camping when I'm car camping is a pair of Carhartt quilted overalls. And it
Oh,
sounds a little silly, but these things, they're cotton, so cotton is typically not your ideal
cotton
outdoor
kills,
fabric.
right? That's the
But
common.
when you're car camping, who cares, right?
That's
You
yeah,
got backup stuff,
yeah.
and it's relatively easy to stay dry. And those overalls are sized. I can actually share a screen here and
Oh, that'd be
show
great.
a picture of these things that I've got. I found them on clearance somewhere, I think through like Sierra Trading Post or something like that. But yeah, these things they zip down at the bottom to slip on over your shoes. You don't even have to take your shoes off, and they keep your bottom half nice and warm. And they're also very fire resistant, and that's kind of a nice benefit of cotton when you're car camping and you've got a campfire. You don't want embers burning through your $600 down jacket. So yeah, the cotton is actually kind of nice for that. It's durable. It's hard to tear on brush and things like that. So yeah, those are a great tool. And then I combine that with a Carhartt jacket on the top side as well.
That's like proper like working gear. So it's really rugged. Like you can, be
Mhm.
rubbing up against stuff. Like I started the show wearing a Patagonia puffer jacket, right? And you can pull a hole in this thing like that. That's a big
Yeah.
issue with the ultralight camping gear. And good point on starting from a standpoint of car camping, right? Car camping, your trunk is carrying your gear, or the back of your
Yes.
vehicle. Your back isn't, right? So you can go much heavier, and who cares if you have to have 3 pairs of overalls if they get wet or whatever. So that's a good point. As far as
Yeah, that's
like a
right. So
base layer, do you use a base layer?
Not particularly. I typically just kind of end up wearing, what I'm gonna want to wear around camp anyway. If I'm gonna be doing some hiking or climbing, I'll usually wear like soft shell pants, which have some stretch to them and are, a synthetic material so they don't absorb water and things like that.
Well,
Um,
we got an
and then,
interesting chat. Where is it?
yeah.
Where's the pop up? One W6RIP says, "Oh, can't miss this one." Oh man, if you
Oh
come out
boy.
next weekend, that'd be fantastic. I'll message you if you're interested. It'll be Thomas Mountain. Link in the description, or we'll pick a new location if it gets too snowed out. And really, the Thomas Mountain, we should say specifically, it's not that there won't be too much snow. It's that it will create a situation that most of the vehicles won't be able to get there. I'm pretty confident
Right.
mine can, but not everybody has 4-wheel drive and lockers and all that and all that good stuff. So, yeah, that would be great if you made it out, Kevin. We that would be awesome. Uh, okay, so now I lost base layer. I like wool. I'm assuming you do as well. But is there something else you might recommend on the cheap?
I also like merino wool. It's much less itchy than the rest of the stuff, either smart wool or Red Ram or various other, merino wool brands.
Yeah,
But if I'm not wearing something like that, it usually is a synthetic, long sleeve shirt that's kind of well, the Patagonia Capeline shirts were kind of like the original ones that kind of started the trend, but they're a dime a dozen now. You can find much cheaper brands and things like that, even on Amazon and things.
indeed. So 10 essentials is important. Obviously, I've mentioned it. You've mentioned it. I'll be bringing my 73-hour go bag just in case because it's got a lot of my gear and tools and stuff that I like to have out in the field. When you are talking clothes, obviously that includes things like gloves, headwear, gaiters potentially. What do you do in addition to your Carhartt loadout that you got?
Sure. Oh, let's see. Well, yeah, just a beanie is and a hooded jacket are kind of nice things as well. My Carhartt jacket doesn't happen to have a hood, so I'm typically wearing a beanie, maybe a neck gaiter as well to keep the neck and the face warm, although the beard helps with that.
Yep.
Um, and then yeah, gloves. I like to have a few different types of gloves. Some that give me more dexterity, and some that just give me greater warmth. So yeah, I think that covers kind of those other accessory elements.
Yeah, I have a couple links on the Amazon A store to things like Darn Tough socks. I think they're guaranteed for life. You can get them in merino wool. A buff comes in multiple different fabrics. This one happens to be a synthetic, but I also have a wool. I generally take the wool. These are actually really handy for dehydrated meals too. You put the meal in the loop in the middle and wrap it up, and it does its warming up thing there. And a pair of Burton gloves. Oddly enough, mechanics gloves, not bad for a lot of situations because you still kind of maintain dexterity. Not great for insulation though if it's really cold, right?
Indeed.
How?
Yeah. So one
Yeah.
other
Go ahead. Go ahead.
one other thing I like to bring, particularly if I'm bringing the camper, and I want to keep my feet warm on a non-dirt floor. Although some of these do actually have soles that you can use outside in the dirt. But down booties are kind of a really nice luxury for cold weather camping to have something warm to put on your feet when it cools down at night and you're not really hiking around a bunch.
Yeah. So for those, you know who you are. If you sleep cold in your feet when camping, wool socks are really good. I haven't gone to the down booties, but I might have to try them because I'm kind of a cold foot sleeper. Everything else is fine. It's my feet that get cold, as do a lot of people. A lot of people experience that. Let's see. So, how about sleeping situation? So your body's all warm, you're all good. Time to go to sleep. It's cold. Every person's got a 3-season tent. What do you do when you're got snow on the ground and you're a 3-season tent owner?
Well, good question. I'll throw a question back to you.
Mm,
How do you think you lose the most warmth, the most heat when you're sleeping?
I'm pretty sure it's your head.
No, no, I mean like through radiation or through your insulation or conduction.
If I'm on
Or,
the ground, I'm assuming it's through my back.
yep,
It's
exactly.
gonna
So your
suck.
sleeping
The
pad
ground's gonna
and
suck the
yep,
heat right out of me.
yeah, insulating you from whatever you're in contact with is really going to be key. And your sleeping bag doesn't really do much for you for that because you're compressing all of that insulation. So you really need a decent sleeping pad to keep you warm when you're sleeping in real cold conditions or on the snow. And there's a few things I like to do. There's a lot of options, but oftentimes if I'm snow camping, I'll bring a foam pad and an inflatable pad, like a Thermarest Z-Rest pad for the foam, and then an inflatable pad to go on top of that for some comfort and additional insulation. Another thing I'll do is use Reflectix. Reflectix is basically a Mylar bubble wrap that you use for house
Oh,
insulation, and it does and it has an excellent R value, which is like a measure of insulating, for conduction. So I'll use a layer of Reflectix under a pad to help insulate. And then finally, another thing you can do is just use like an emergency blanket or a Mylar tarp. Those things do a pretty darn good job when wrapped around your sleeping pad to help improve the insulation a bit.
Yeah, another thing I'll show here, just for the sake of it, for those watching, Sea to Summit has a couple of them that are high R value while still being lightweight. Like this can go in a pack. You can carry this all day, and it's not a big deal. If you're car camping, again, it doesn't matter, but you can get these insulated ultralight pads, and they work whether you're car camping or not. They're really good pads in general. They make ultralight versions of these, but I just like the insulated ones a lot. What pad do you use, Adam?
I've got a whole bunch of different pads. For car camping, my favorite ones to use are an Exped brand, EXPED. I forget the model, but it's probably 4 inches thick and is probably more comfortable than the mattress at home and pretty well insulated.
Yeah. Oddly enough, the pad technology has come a long way since I was a Boy Scout and we, had the full frame backpacks and 45 pounds on a child. When we had the, super condensed foam and it was basically like sleeping on rocks. The
Yeah.
sleeping pads now are way, way better than they used to be and quite comfortable. Somebody mentioned hammocks in the chat. Have you ever done the hammock thing?
I have not. I've never done any hammock camping. I actually sleep really well on the ground. When I'm backpacking and going ultralight, like on that last the big solo Sierra trip, my
Yeah.
sleeping pad was just a sheet of Reflectix, and
Wow.
that's like basically taking a 1/4 inch piece of bubble wrap and using that as your sleeping pad.
I don't think I
So
could do that.
but there's a trick to it, right? This
Be
this is
drunk
kind of going out of the
before
realm.
going to sleep.
Well, no, wear yourself out real good. That helps.
Mm.
But really the key is to sleep on dirt that you can contour to the shape of your body. And if you kind of dig a
Oh.
hole for your butt or your hip, if you're a side sleeper, and get that contour just right, you get really pretty even pressure across your back or your side, and it's actually pretty comfortable to sleep. You just got to put a little bit of effort into making it right.
Right, you're out here build. Not only does Adam hike to mountains and then build Adirondack chairs, he builds Tempur-Pedic beds out of dirt contouring when he gets to a campsite. So fantastic. My wife is in the chat, by the way. Thanks, Leia, for being on there. I don't know much about hammock sleeping. I have everybody's got what is it? The Eno, the double eagle, whatever, or
Yep.
Ono.
Double nest, I
The
think.
double
Yeah.
nest, yeah. I imagine, and as I've been told from people that hammock, the big thing that they have to do when it gets cold, we're talking cold, if you're talking summer, who cares? Just throw that thing up and go to sleep, is the under quilt. It's a quilt that goes below the hammock. And that seems to, again, the heat's getting pulled out from underneath you. That seems to hold the heat in. At the same time, when we did this in 2019 at Mount Pacifico, Jason, Ham Radio 2.0, was there, and it was cold. It was in the, again, cold is subjective. I appreciate that. Down below the 40s, I believe. He slept in a hammock with just a foam pad under him, but in the hammock. And he said he slept fine. So, people are different. Everybody sleeps a little bit different. I appreciate that. But yeah, he was a trooper. He got through it just fine. Regarding the tents, though, so car camping, you can pretty much bring anything, but that may not be a tent that you really want to use, right? Those huge mammoth mansions that people drag out there with the hard aluminum poles. What do you do as far as like a cold tent potentially? Oh, he's got another. There we go. Where it is.
Yeah,
Where
let's
is
see.
it? There it is.
Oh, come on. Open? Why doesn't it want to open for me? Oh, I'm editing the album. There we go.
Yep.
That's
Live web
for
editing.
car camping, a lot of times that's my tent.
That'll do. That'll do.
Yeah, it's you can call it cheating, but yeah, it keeps me warm, and it's kind of a nice way to go there to keep up off the ground. But if you don't have that, and sometimes when I car camp, I don't bring the camper just for a variety of reasons. If I don't want to drive, if I want the fuel economy of a smaller car, or whatever, there's a lot of reasons. I typically try to avoid bringing my nice ultralight backpacking tents because I just don't want to put the wear and tear on them on a car camping trip. So I've got an older, larger two-person, three, four-season convertible tent that I typically bring just for car camping.
And I know most people are going to have a double wall tent, so it's going to be the tent body and then like a rain fly. Does that help with heat retention at all versus a single wall? Or, what are your thoughts on that? I know people are probably not even, the clarification I'm giving is not very detailed, but what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, not really. The single wall versus double wall tent is more of a condensation issue. So you stay drier in a double wall tent because you're separated from the wall where the condensation forms.
Yeah.
For this trip, I will most likely be bringing just my Tacoma with a camper shell on it, and I'll just sleep in the camper shell. So I'll throw the pad down in there. I do plan to build a shelf in there out of wood for for storage and camping and have a more comfortable sleeping area. I'm getting rid of this camper that you see in the picture that I showed in the picture on the Tacoma because I have a Dodge now with a larger camper that
Oh,
happens to be in the shop right now. So that one's not coming on this trip. But yeah, I'll probably just sleep in the truck camper shell, and the insulated pad is going to be really important for that because the metal Tacoma truck bed is obviously going to be a big heat sink.
indeed. Yeah. My wife has given her feedback on tents. She absolutely loves my ultralight, which is this one, my ultralight tent. This is a Gossamer Gear tent pole tent. It's a single wall, and she slept in this with me. It's a two-person, and she got soaked because I think her head touched the wall and it soaked the top of her head. So she was
Yeah,
not
and
a
that
fan.
that's the drawback of those single wall tents. It's the
Yeah,
trade-off, right? You save weight, but if you touch that wall, it's going to be covered in condensation. And
yeah.
yes, this is a cat tail here.
I haven't
Sorry.
completely decided. I haven't completely decided if I'm just going to sleep in the back of the Xterra. It's wide enough with everything dropped down that I can just sleep in the back. That's an interesting point though. So you got the tent. We talked about the R value of the pad. A lot of people are using sleeping bags. There was a whole discussion on this on the Discord on types of sleeping bags people use. I've gone to toe box quilt or quilt with a toe box as my preferred sleep method. What are you currently using? And when it's cold, remember we're talking when it's cold. How should someone prepare themselves for sleep?
Yeah, well, a good sleeping bag, right?
Yeah,
And what does that mean? Well, that could mean a lot of things. That could mean a quilt, that could mean a mummy bag, that could mean, a decent rectangular bag. For car camping, I usually bring a rectangular bag. I've got two 0-degree rectangular bags that are actually quite warm, and I've had them for a number of years, and I turn them into a large, two-person bed when I'm out with my better half, and I'll just keep it as a single rectangular bag when I'm out by myself, and it works well. It keeps you warm. But yeah, I think the key is to spend a little bit of money on your sleeping bag and get something decent. For car camping, you don't need to pack it small. So for the most part, unless you're maybe motorcycle camping or in a smaller car and need, spaces at a premium. So you can get away with synthetic, and synthetic bags are going to be significantly cheaper. They're not going to pack as small or be quite as light.
yeah. Do you have a good recommendation on where people find gear? Because that's another thing I think people need to appreciate is that oftentimes just walking into an REI and dropping six hundos on a tent and a back and a sleeping bag is not really recommended. Do you have any recommendations there? I've got a few, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so I do shop REI. I'll shop their sales as well. I do fortunately get some discounts through Search and Rescue for a lot of gear these days.
Well
Um,
deserved to you,
but
yes, as a volunteer,
Sure.
that's well deserved.
But other places to check, Sierra Trading Post, which is now Sierra.com, used to have really good deals, and their deals aren't quite as good as they used to be, but they're still pretty good. They're usually like blems and seconds and closeouts and things like that. But lots of good camping gear there. Steepandcheap.com is another one. I think they're a subsidiary of backcountry.com, and you can get some pretty darn good deals on gear when they have sales as well.
I've had good luck with eBay. I know some people haven't, although I don't think I'd go full eBay on like a sleeping bag. But a backpack, I've had good luck buying backpacks on eBay generally, because you can, as long as they got enough pictures, you can kind of suss out whether it's okay. And a blemish bag, who really cares? You're taking it outdoors anyway. It's like you're gonna blemish it. It's not supposed to be like Nikes that you never scuff or anything like that. REI does something called a garage sale or a sidewalk sale, something like that. And what'll happen is they'll take all the returns that they've had and they'll bring them to like one of their larger locations, and they can vary. So you'll have to look this up. I'm fortunate enough that I work in Redondo Beach, California, and in El Segundo, just a mile or two away. The REI store there is large enough that they have a full-time store, like 3 stores down, that is all the time garage sale. And so I go there like almost every month just to see what the hot, new items are to pick up. So you will save considerable amount of money on like a tent if it's been slightly blemished, or a lot of them are just like someone bought it, said it was too big, returned it, or they were cold. It's like, well, it's a tent. I mean, I don't know what you expected, but returned it. So you get really good deals that way. So, keep that in mind.
Yeah, very true. I've gotten some great deals at REI garage sales. For example, I'm pretty good at patching sleeping pads. I bought a big Agnes brand sleeping pad for $1.83 one time that had a hole in it, and I patched it, and it worked great. So, stuff like that.
Yeah, Eric Golseth says, research the gear, figure out what you truly need. There is a huge amount of content creators on YouTube that are talking about all of the gear. The only thing that I would recommend is when you're watching these people, make sure you understand what they're about when it comes to outdoors. If they're like hardcore thru hikers, they may be going with gear that just is not even something you need to consider. If you're just straight car camping, you don't need the super weight weenie, lightweight stuff most of the time, if at all. We're explaining why you can probably just go with some stuff you could probably even get on just Amazon. In fact, there's a couple links in the Amazon store to just cheap tents. And I generally like to go with lightweight stuff, but not necessarily so light that if you breathe on it too hard, it will develop a hole or whatever. At the same time, do you have anything that is Cuban fiber or Dyneema Cuban fiber stuff?
I don't actually. I would say kind of one of the lightest things I have is one of my nice sleeping bags that I use a lot, and it's a Mountain Hardwear brand, Mountain Speed 32, and it's a 32 degree bag with super light Pertex nylon outer, and I think the whole, it's like 900 fill power, 950 fill, and I think it's just under a pound, like 15 and a half ounces for a 32 degree mummy bag. So pretty amazing.
That's pretty good. So they thought I said human fiber. No, it's Cuban fiber. It's kind of hard to explain. I have a bag actually that is made of it. Hold on. Where did I put that bag? Here it is.
It's pretty cool stuff. It's really durable for how incredibly light it is.
Yeah, it's insane. This is a less than 2-pound bag when empty. This is a hyper light mountain gear bag. I bought this on eBay. I saved like $200 on it. It looks basically, so this is almost like contractor material that goes on the outside of houses. I can't remember the name of this stuff, but it's called Dyneema or Cuban fiber. It's super rip resistant, super lightweight. It's like the carbon fiber of fabric is the closest example I have. And they make a ton of bags based off of these, and they're really, really nice, but they're also generally really expensive. So yeah, I agree. Research the gear before you start to drop all the big money on it. My general excuse is if I save a lot of weight on everything else, I can just add more ham radio weight in the bag. Right? but Adam doesn't care. Adam will carry a 7300 to a summit.
I did today.
Did you really?
Yes.
Well, maybe now's a good transition time. Is there anything else you want to mention? Oh, we should get to stoves and cooking too. Do you want to come back to that, or do you want to do ham radio? Let's do the stoves. Let's talk stoves.
Fair enough.
So you're outdoor, you're car camping. You can drag a barbecue out there. A ton of people do that, but there are some efficient ways of cooking that are a little bit more on the backpacker side of the house that you may be interested in. Adam's got some thoughts there. So what'd you bring for us, Adam?
Sure. Well, the first thing I'll say is that for backpacking, a lot of people are going for the ultralight stoves on Amazon, the real cheap Chinese ones. Be cautious of those. There's a company called Mountain Safety Research, MSR. They make a stove called the Pocket Rocket. It's about $45 to $65 depending on which version you get, and it won't catch fire, and you won't have to fling it into a lake while you're doing the John Muir Trail like my hiking partner did.
Oh, this is
as we
that
were going through.
$17 titanium stove?
Yep.
Oh, I
Yeah.
should take it off the Amazon list. I have it, but I switched to the Jetboil stash. I've been using
Yeah.
the Jetboil for a long time now, or relatively long time, and I
So
like this.
yeah, so a jet boil trick. I don't. That one comes with a little plastic cup on the bottom, right?
The stand.
Uh, No, does it come with a little plastic cup that goes on the bottom of the pot?
No, it's got the vented grill thing.
Okay, so there's no bottom cover to it. Because some of the original jet boils had a little plastic cup on the bottom, and one of the things I used to always explain to people is that the best use for that thing is not actually to use as a cup or a bowl to eat your food. It's to put a little bit of water in, ideally kind of warmer water, and then set your fuel canister in it as you're cooking in really cold temperatures. Because those propane butane stoves, they rely on that liquefied propane and liquefied butane gas reaching its vapor pressure and
Right.
vaporizing, and then pushing that vapor out of the stove. And
And if
if
it
it's
gets
too
too
cold,
cold,
you don't get the vapor pressure, you don't get the stove pressure, and it burns like crap. Well, water has a very high specific heat. It takes a lot of energy also to convert it from one state to another, from liquid to solid. So you can use that little cup of water with the fuel canister sitting in it, any liquid water, to keep that canister above freezing and make your stove burn a lot better than it would if it was just cold. Yeah, people sleep with their canister in their sleeping bag and keep it warm that way, but it gets cold real fast.
yeah.
So yeah, you have a little cup of water when you're cold weather camping with a small butane stove like that, to be able to put your fuel canister in, so you can heat it up with a little bit of water. And if that's the stove you're going to bring a little cup that the fuel canister will fit in, a little bowl,
Okay.
and we'll test it out there, and you'll see the difference of having that canister warm versus not.
That's just the thermal mass of water you're kind of counting on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Very interesting. It's the reverse of water cooling. You're actually using it to retain the heat.
Yeah, you're using it to heat the fuel canister and keep it above freezing anyway.
We'll keep talking about stoves and food and cooking, but there was a good question of waste management. Thomas Mountain has no bathrooms. There's a bathroom, what'd you say, a mile or 2 miles away, which it's a drive up, so just drive down and
Yeah.
do your business. There's no reason not to. But if you want to, you can, well, I guess, Adam, real life stuff, what do you do when you're out there and you got to deal with Mother Nature?
Bring a shovel, bury it 6 to 8 inches deep at least. That's kind of the standard. And ideally, pack out your toilet paper. Don't leave that behind. What you really don't want to do is leave stuff on the surface, and leave a mess for other people that are going to come and visit the area.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm going to bring a shovel. I'll have a shovel and maybe some kind of a little pick or something if the ground's a little bit harder. But I think it's generally pretty soft up there. And we'll just walk a little ways from camp, dig a hole, and pack out the paper. That's the best thing to do.
So grab some of those bags that are specific. Well, maybe grab some of those bags that are designed, maybe have fragrances or whatever you can tie off, and or possibly biodegradable, depending on what we do.
Yeah, just a Ziploc bag's fine. Stuff your paper in a Ziploc bag, throw it in the trash bag, and it'll be fine. It won't stink. It'll make it home well enough.
My wife says, "Enjoy the hike while doing the pee-pee dance." So that's the advantage of Thomas Mountain, is that Thomas Mountain is both a soda and a poda. So you don't have to hike anywhere. But if we go to the lowland desert outside of Anza Borrega, right, Adam?
Right.
Then
Yeah.
you'd
So
have to
the
go to
alter-
a summit.
Right. The alternate spot is down in a spot called Blair Valley, which is in Anza-Borrego Desert State Park, which is a POTA entity. And there are a few summits nearby, some with more significant hikes like Granite Mountain and Whale Peak. And then there's one real nearby, the camp there that you could probably just hike to from camp that would, maybe take an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to get there. And it's a relatively simple one. It happens to be the one where I brought the Micro Pixie to do that video and that activation,
Oh,
which
cool.
was the first activation of that summit.
So let me just say big thank you to Craig there for the super chat. And we had one earlier from Paul, Ham Radio Pen Pals. Thank you so much. He said, here's some money for a room at the Holiday Inn Express. No, this will be good. I actually, this sounds ridiculous, but I kind of prefer camping in colder weather than hot weather. I've been on book of saying I am not comfortable in super high heat. I don't like it. I can't put on something to make me cooler, particularly if I'm backpacking. But if I'm colder, I can add things on to make me warmer and more comfortable. Or I can just walk around and do something and I get the blood going and all of a sudden it's like, hey, I'm fine now. We're good. All that stuff that goes along with that. But
That's right. Yeah, and so I think it was Troy had a comment up there. How cold can it be in Southern California? Well, it'll probably be in the 20s, low 20s on Thomas Mountain. It's about 6,800 feet elevation, and it'll be getting chilly out there. And on top of that, even when it's only in the 30s, those butane propane canisters, as you're trying to cook with them, you're releasing pressure from the canister. And what happens when you release pressure from a pressurized container? It gets colder.
Worse and worse.
Adiabatic cooling. And that makes that canister colder and makes it harder for that fuel to vaporize and harder for it to create fire and make your food warm.
From LB0FI, thank you for the NOK 22. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that currency is? Adam,
I don't.
Somebody tell me in the chat what a NOK is.
Something kroners probably. I'm guessing here.
Well, thank you, Craig. I don't know what a NOK is though. What country is that from? Norwegian kroner.
Norwegian kroner.
Right.
That's
You
right.
got it, Adam. Nailed it.
Nice.
So what are you showing us here? You're showing the super chat on the super chat on the video. There you go. I got it.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. That was cool.
There we go.
That is not backpacking. That is definitely car camping if you've got a full stand-up oven.
Yeah. So we won't be able to do this if we go to Thomas Mountain. The fire restrictions are in place there, so we can't have wood or charcoal fires. But when we can, I really do enjoy Dutch oven cooking, and I wanted to share that.
Yeah.
And then what I do plan to bring on this trip for cooking is this stove / oven combination. It's a Camp Chef brand, and I bought this through Costco. It's the outdoor camp oven. I want to say it's the deluxe one. I could be wrong on that. But it does a pretty good job. I've battled with it a little bit because the fuel regulator in it didn't really allow the oven to get as hot as I wanted it to in cooler temperatures. So that was a bit of a challenge, and I went through and I'm sure voided my warranty and violated lots of safety regulations by replacing the regulator with the fixed regulator with an adjustable one, and now it cooks quite well because I can bump the fuel pressure up a good bit.
Leia now has changed her mind completely because you have a portable oven. She is 100% on board now. I bet.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the comment.
And yeah, those are pigs in a blanket, by the way, for breakfast there, and I very well may bring some of those for this camp.
Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. And so literally like a legit oven. Like how warm does it get in the cook chamber?
That's a good question. I don't know. I forget what the gauge goes up to. I wonder if I can see it in the picture here. But probably 400 degrees or so, 350, 400.
Shoot, you can do a whole lot with that. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. From the Carries, no butane, but how about an S-bit stove? Or alcohol. I mean, you can talk about both of them if you want to.
I love Esbit stoves. That's kind of my go-to stove for ultralight backpacking now because those little stove stands and a piece of aluminum foil weighs, just maybe a few grams. It's less than an ounce for the whole stove. And then those fuel tablets work incredibly well.
Yeah, very
With a
efficient.
full Esbit tablet, I can cook a pot of ramen, which is a go-to backpacking meal, or a little pot of spaghetti. And with a half a tablet, Esbit tablet, I can heat up a cup of water for coffee in the morning. So they're really efficient and do really well. I've moved away from alcohol stoves because they just don't seem to be quite as simple or efficient weight wise as the Esbit stove. So I've
Mhm.
transitioned to that, and I have made a number of Esbit, not Esbit, alcohol stoves from Red Bull cans
Yep.
and other similar sized cans
Yep.
that really they work pretty
They
well. But
do.
when you do the math on the fuel weight and things like that, it just doesn't pan out for kind of a longer trip. And I'm digging those Esbit fuel tablets now.
You get those that bottle of heat in a little squeeze bottle, right? The heat, the HEET stuff. That stuff burns fantastic for alcohol
It
stoves.
Yeah, it does pretty good. I've been just using standard denatured alcohol, which
Yeah.
is 100%. It's the full strength stuff that you can get in a well. You used to, I guess you at least used to be able to get in a gallon can at the hardware stores. I don't know if you can anymore.
Yeah. Good KO4TDA Hogwild Ham says, "Aren't you supposed to drink the alcohol?" Uh,
Not that alcohol.
not that alcohol. That's
That
not
won't end well.
that's not a good one for you. Oftentimes, though, I've got a couple of them here. You grab a dehydrated meal or something like that. Not the best for car camping, though, right? We're not. I'll have a couple of these for maybe a lunch or something like that, but you don't have to go that route because it's really expensive. Those dehydrated meals are really expensive for car camping, so keep that in mind. Anything you
They
want to
are.
mention on keeping this going on the switch to the ham radio, the stuff people are waiting for?
Well, one more thing I
Yeah.
wanted to, I had a few photos for and wanted
Oh,
to
please.
share.
Yeah.
Um, the one of the key things that I like to bring for trips like this is a walled awning, and I
Ooh.
used my REI dividend 1 year to buy this thing for, basically no money out of pocket. And it's this shelter in the background here. I'll zoom in a little bit. That's got four walls to it, and it gives shade during the day and shelter from the wind and the cold at night. And inside of that, I typically set up a catalytic heater like you see here on the left. This is actually inside that shelter on a real cold weather camping trip, off-roading camping trip out near Barstow. And that Mr. Buddy double heater,
Mm-hmm.
it is a gem. It warms up the inside of that tent and keeps you nice and toasty. Just make sure you don't let your nylon ultralight jacket come in contact with that because it
Right.
will instantly disintegrate.
Yeah.
That's where the Carhartt comes in.
Yeah. I have. Well, let me go back to me here for a second so you can see it in the background. I like the little buddy. It's not nearly as powerful as Adam's, but there's a fan you can buy on Amazon that will actually put out a huge amount of move the air more efficiently. Right, the buddy heater is just going to heat and then heat rises and it goes up, but this has a catalytic effect that will then kick this fan on and blow the heat out, and it's actually really really effective, which I was shocked by. So that if you don't have a buddy heater, by the way, completely unrelated to camping or anything like that, these things are like $75. They work off 1 pound propane containers, and they make adapter hoses to go to the 20, any 20 pound or whatever. And they have multiple of these guys, larger ones, doubles, and then obviously Adam has the one that mounts right on top. You should get one of these, regardless of where you live, just in case. They're extremely reliable, extremely reliable.
Yeah, no, good stuff. And you can carefully use them in, enclosed areas. I don't know what the rules say on them or the recommendations say on them, but I have done it,
Yeah,
and you just have to be real careful.
here's what you get along
Yep.
with it. The carbon monoxide detector or alarm, and you just set that up next to it. This is like, I don't know, $10, $11 on Amazon. But at the same time, the box all over the Mr. Heater says safe for indoors, safe for inside a closed space. And the thing you have to worry about that device is not the carbon monoxide. It's actually condensation, because
Yeah.
what it's going to put out, it's going to burn oxygen, and it's going to create a situation where you have a lot of condensation from running a heater like that. So you always have to vent appropriately. It actually has an O2 shutoff, where if the O2 level gets too high, it'll shut itself off, which is pretty interesting. It's a really cool device, really inexpensive for what you get, really high value. All right,
Yeah.
Adam, we're 10 minutes until the top of the hour. We may run a little bit long because we haven't even started talking about ham radio yet. Adam has a ton of information here. He just got back from a huge soda summit to summit event. He said he dragged a 7300 out to the summit. So, Adam, obviously, you got to tame this down for mere mortals. But what would you recommend for mere mortals that want to go out backpacking or have a good portable type rig or setup?
Well, for this purpose, maybe it's best to focus on car camping since that's what we're
Sure. Well,
what we're headed for
then
here.
anything's possible. The world is your
yeah.
oyster.
So for car camping, bring what you got, and a 100-watt rig is going to serve you well, especially if you've got a battery to power it. And that's probably, your biggest challenge in this type of thing is figuring out how to fuel your radio. I built this box a few years ago. This is a Plano box. It's got a couple of cigarette lighter style 12-volt outputs, and then a duplex Anderson power pole and a volt/watt meter. It's fused inside, and it's got a 60 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery pack inside the box on this thing, and it serves me really well on car camping trips. Oh, we're back to the oven there. So that's, I think, the key is sorting out your battery power to fuel your radio. And if you don't have a battery like that, or don't plan to get a battery like that, then maybe a more power efficient rig is a better option. For this trip, I'm going to bring this IC7300 in a little Pelican case to keep it safe in transit. And I will probably fuel it with that battery box that I just showed the pictures of there.
I have I'll be bringing my 7300 in the Go box, which has a very tiny battery, only a 9 amp hour battery. But the intention of that kit is usually have a solar panel connected to it. So I'll have my folding 100-watt solar panel. But at the same time, a lot of these situations are going to be, again, car camping. We're focusing on car camping. Modular type setup. So you could have a 100-watt radio. Even a 12 amp hour battery is going to be fine if you offset that with some amount of solar. So some kind of charge controller or something along those lines. And that can be done relatively inexpensively. But when you start going down the realm of nice, like folding solar panels, that gets stupid expensive, like really expensive. And good charge controllers for those setups, ones that won't create a lot of RFI, can get a little costly. If you're interested in doing that, Genasun is the company that I would look at. And panels are less of a problem. You can actually get just like a straight up, just monocrystalline panel, put it on the top of your vehicle, and just run the wires to wherever, and you're good to go. I don't know if you've ever done that before. Ever dragged a full panel out in the middle of nowhere?
Not yet. So I have a few different folding solar panels. I've got a 100-watt, I think a 40-watt, and a 20-watt. And I actually have a flexible 175-watt panel that I need to mount on the top of my camper shell, just a regular camper shell that's now on the Tacoma. And that's going to fuel a 150 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery that will live in the back and keep the cooler running for as long as it needs to run, and fuel a radio if I want to fuel a radio. So yeah, that's that's the plan in there. I don't know that I'll bring that on this trip. I'll probably bring the battery at least just to have some extra power. But I expect to mostly use that 60 amp hour pack that I showed.
Now, are you hand building your packs? Are you buying a there's a battery brand you like, or what are you doing generally?
So the one that I showed, I built myself. It was
Of course he
kind of
did.
a
Of course
generic
he did.
Chinese brand 60 amp hour cell that I bought. Oh, this was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it has served me really well. And then I recently bought 150 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery that basically just looks like a car battery type thing,
Yeah.
like a deep cycle battery.
Yeah.
And the intent was to stick that in the Tacoma camper shell and like I said, feed it with that solar panel.
So Matt Quinn says not to be a shill, but Power Mini 2. That's a buddy pole device. I'll actually have that on the trip. We'll be bringing that. And there was another comment. This is really interesting. Need to figure out how to fully power a CPAP machine. So Tank Radio, who was in the stream earlier, I don't know if he's still here. Look up Tank Radio. He's done a whole bunch of videos on a off-grid power solution for a CPAP machine because he also has a CPAP. So consider looking into that. And yeah, it's totally doable. That's not a problem, particularly if you're car camping. Again, the world is your oyster. You just need to battery up as big as you can. All right. So we didn't mention brands of radios because honestly, that doesn't really matter. It's really a question of like how long can you sustain yourself in operation. You can pick whatever radio you're comfortable with. It's really just a question of like, how do you keep it charged? Solar's great. I love running solar panels, but are you going to run that long on 80 meters at night when there's no sun? No, because you're going to run out of power. So you may have to switch to QRP or something like that. Or have a proper QRP radio
And
that sips batteries. Go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, no, I don't know about you, but when I'm out camping and having fun in the outdoors, I'm not running the radio 24/7.
Right.
Not even, maybe 10 or 12 hours a day. I might get, 4 to 6 hours in a day, and that's going to be, pushing my limit for what I'm willing to sit still for and sit in front of a radio.
Right.
So it's worth, considering the fact that even if you have a noisy charge controller that you can't run when you're running your radio, you'll probably have plenty of time to charge your battery even when you're not on the air.
Yeah. Antennas, Adam. Obviously, we're about to wrap up the hour, so we're going to go a little bit long on this. Adam is obviously builds a lot of antennas, experiments with antennas. What was the antenna you were using today? Tell people about a little bit about the antenna.
So today I was using what I call a double bobtail antenna. I'll see if I can find a picture here of the what is it called? The MMANA plot for it, and it is how do I describe this? Well, it's an inverted ground plane phased vertical array. So if you can see the image there, what you'll see are these two kind of sideways facing capital E shaped blue lines. Those blue lines are the wires. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, wow,
So
that's fascinating. All right.
yeah.
So walk us through
So
this.
yeah. So can you see my cursor on the screen there?
Uh, yes, I can, but it's tiny. But yeah, okay. So
Okay.
you're at the what I would call the rightmost element, the vertical in the middle. There you go. Hit the
Right.
control. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yep. So the vertical element in the middle is a quarter wavelength long. The wire across the top, that one that goes horizontal, is a half a wavelength long. And then again, the ones on the ends are a quarter wavelength long. So a single one of those is called a bobtail antenna, and it's three quarter wave elements fed with an inverted ground plane. So that top wire that goes across is the ground plane for the antenna.
The top
And
wire.
yeah,
Okay.
the top wire is technically the ground. So
Okay. Okay.
so I feed this. You can feed it at a top center, at a 50 ohm feed point at the top center, or you can feed it at the bottom of the center element at basically like you feed an end-fed half wave with a 49-to-1 or so transformer, a high impedance transformer, and that's what I did with actually with my new 100 watt antenna kit that's coming out soon. Shh. Um, so, so what I figured out when I modeled this in MMANA is that if I build a bobtail antenna, which already has pretty good low angle radiation and
That's
decent
super
gain,
low.
broadside to the antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it- I found that if I add a second one behind it at I forget about 8 feet or so, 2.5 meters, um, it acts as a really good reflector and gives you sort of unidirectional antenna and gives even more gain in the direction of radiation. So this is a two-dimensional plot looking down from the top on the left of the sort of goldfish shaped plot,
It is
and
a
looking
goldfish plot. Yes.
looking from the side on the other plot. And what I was trying to illustrate here is that most of your DX, as Callum says, is at 5 to 10 degrees or so radiation angle, and I think for 15 meters it may be slightly higher than that, probably closer to 10 degrees. But at 5 degrees angle of radiation, you get about 5.5, I'm sorry, 3.0 dBi of gain. So positive 3.0 dBi of gain, which is actually pretty good. Um, at the peak, at 21 degrees or 20.5 degrees of radiation, you get almost 8.5 dBi of forward gain. At 10 degrees, you get 6.7 dBi of forward gain.
That's pretty
So
good, man.
it is pretty good. The
Yeah.
drawback is that you need, 12 or so stakes and 4 poles to set the thing up. So it's a little bit of a hassle.
Yeah.
Um,
You're
but
showing off a little bit.
the goal today, so today was the transatlantic summit to summit QSO event for Summits on the Air, and there were a bunch of European stations on summits looking for US summit to summit contacts.
Right.
And getting all the way out to Southern California is a bit of a challenge. There's a lot of land in between,
For sure.
but I wanted to make it happen, and I succeeded. I got 3 contacts in the log, 2 in Spain and 1 in Portugal, summit to summit
That's pretty good.
contacts, even to stations running QRP out there. So pretty cool.
So that's what you did today. I appreciate the show. So somebody actually said, "Do you have a picture of it deployed?"
I don't know if I have one handy, but if you go search my YouTube channel, and I can see if I can find a link here for.
We put the link in the description for his website, and right at the top it says his YouTube channel, so you can see his antenna kits and all the projects he's working on, and also his YouTube channel, and you'll see it there. Dawn asked if you've done a half square. You've definitely done that before.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of my favorite SOTA activations I've done was from Thomas Mountain, running a 20-meter half square before the solar cycle was heating up, and I think I had like I don't know, 8 or 10 Japan contacts, so a whole bunch of New Zealand and a bunch of VK, and that was where I got the far side of Australia. I think it's Perth. On single sideband, and it was armchair copy on sideband, Ragchu style, with that 7300 and that half square. So the bobtail's just kind of the next step up from the half square. You get another 1.5 dB or so with that extra element, and then when you add the reflector behind it, I think you get another 3 or so.
Yeah, that'll do it. So a good 2-element. But you got some other funky stuff going on as well, which I'm assuming is helping
Yeah.
with that low takeoff angle. Okay. Again, mere mortals can only hope to do as close to that as possible. So what would you recommend cold weather type of antenna setup for someone that wants to go out in the field, maybe and we'll stick to car camping. Let's stick to car camping. We'll have you back again to just do weight weenie ultralight ham radio stuff. But what would you put up if you're just like car camping, want something simple, having a bit of fun with friends? Ham radio is adjacent to the campout. What would you put up?
So link dipole's my go-to for a 100-watt rig to have multi-band capability with very little work, and just high efficiency for radiation. I do like the NFET half wave as well, and that's a good option. But when I run an NFET half wave, I usually do that because I don't want to carry feed line, and I'm trying to save weight. So the linked dipole, particularly on the higher bands with a 31-foot pole, I'm able to get the antenna up nice and high and get it to perform pretty well. With the end-fed half wave, it doesn't provide quite the same benefits, so I usually just stick with the linked dipole for that kind of stuff.
I do love a good link dipole. Shout out to Soda Beams. I really just like that antenna. The band hopper's really good. Adam, of course, has a couple of kits, and obviously he showed us his new little, strain relief device he's working on, which I think is awesome. So he'll have that out on his channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. Yeah, I mean, linked. The only downside of the linked dipole is that sometimes, depending on the lowest band, you need a lot of space. Half waves, end-fed half waves, I feel like are sometimes easier to set up than a link dipole when you're getting out in the field. Also, less things for kids to trip on or get tangled up in is generally also something I always worry about is children. So I also like just a vertical. Oddly enough, it sounds kind of ridiculous. If it's a full weekend trip, there's no reason why you can't set up something like a DX Commander.
Yeah,
You
or
know,
Buddy Hex.
well, hey, that's what we'll be doing, and no children are coming on this one. You need 6 guy lines for the Buddy Hex, and they're stacked, so it's the same 3 mount points basically. And I'll be bringing the Buddy Hex out. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is a fantastic antenna, and literally I can hold it with one hand, the antenna. And we'll have the Massworks kit with the manual rotor. So anybody who wants to experience that, it'll be there wherever we go. We'll have it. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people are mentioning the Gazelle ice tents. Have you used an ice tent before, Adam?
I have not. There's not a whole lot of ice fishing in San Diego,
No,
so I don't have an ice tent.
no, but I think the reason they're mentioning it or mentioning is because it's insulated. It's an insulated, just a pop-up tent. You can kind of like throw it out there and poof, it opens up.
Got it. Okay.
Because that's
yeah,
a car camping thing. You could do that.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually not familiar with the Gazelle, and I've seen videos of Don's little ice shanty type tent.
Yeah, Don Izzo has one. I know Jason Amarillo 2.0 has one. If Gazelle wants to send me one before Friday next week, I'll take it and we'll test it out. But I know it's really. I know they're warm. I know that if you put that buddy heater in it, you'd be super warm. I've actually seen videos. It was Don actually. He put a tent in the Gazelle tent. I think it was a tent in a tent. So it was like
Nice.
a triple layered tent. Oh man, well we blew through that hour pretty quickly as we normally do. Adam, is there anything else we didn't hit that you wanted to show? I know you brought a lot of pictures and stuff. Is there anything we need to mention about the camp out that we haven't done? Do we due diligence here?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. I think the main thing is just kind of the final plans.
Yes.
And get over to the Discord, sign in on that Thomas Mountain Campout channel, and we'll make sure to share information there. There's always because these sites aren't reservable. It's all first come first serve. It's always possible that something could be occupied when we get there. So we may have to make minor changes to plans at the last minute. So that's going to be a good place, I think, to get that kind of information.
Yeah. For everybody that doesn't know, Discord is like not IRC. What am I thinking of? Why can't I remember? It's in like an old school chat room, basically, kind of modernized a bit. Ham Radio Crash Course has a Discord. Link is in the description. If you scroll down a little bit, it'll say Thomas Mountain Campout, and all that information there is kind of where we're tracking what's going on. What's the signal, like cell phone reception out at both locations?
That's a good question. As
If
I
you
was
remember.
driving home, as I was driving home from Blair Valley today, I was like, I should have checked that. But I know very nearby there is good cell reception, within like a couple minute drive from Blair Valley, the desert location, the alternative spot. And I know there is Verizon cell reception up on Thomas Mountain. I don't recall how good it is, but I know there is cell reception there.
I will have a booster. It works off of 12 volt DC, and that actually does work. Those little crazy antenna boosters, they work really well if you can get them high up. Um, Usually on a mountain, that's not a problem. Rob asked a question: is the Buddy Hex worth the price? Fantastic question, but we're going to have to wrap things up here. If you'd like to continue this conversation, we're actually going to head over to the Discord. Do you have time for hang out a little bit for Adam?
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
Okay.
Yep. And the other thing I'll tease with for the Discord
Oh,
is that I wanted to ask is what is your plan for coffee camping?
uh,
So,
I'll save it because it's actually been on the
yep,
table the whole time, and I'm not.
exactly.
I don't know if you saw it. If you didn't see
No,
it,
I didn't, but save
okay. Yeah,
it.
we'll save it. So join us on the Discord. So how this works, Discord, down in the description. If you're joining us for the first time, it takes a couple of minutes to fully unlock you, if you will, to join us on the voice chat. But we're going to be down at the hashtag live-stream chat and the voice hashtag live stream. And it is a text chat and a voice chat. We will literally, talk with you. We get a lot of people in there. The reason why there's a little bit of a timeout is just because we get bot rated and all that. So, things happen. But you can join us. You can ask your ham radio questions. You can ask questions to Adam on just what does he prefer for being safe when you go outdoors. We didn't even get into first aid kits, but we'll definitely have appropriate first aid equipment. I know Adam's squared away as well. So don't worry about that. But any questions on anything today or any ham radio questions, join us on the Discord after chat. Link is in the description. And just scroll down. Hashtag live stream is what you're looking for. So yeah, I will live stream the after chat here on YouTube and on Patreon. It takes me about 15 minutes to flip everything over, and the after chat's kind of more of a free form discussion, but it's a little bit of an incentive to stick around because we're going to talk coffee. We're going to talk, is the Buddy Hex worth the price? So all of that will be in the after chat. Adam, is there anything you want to mention before we head out here? Anything we didn't hit?
Yeah, so the last thing I'll say, and this kind of goes back to at the start of the stream, you mentioned the link that's posted in the description below for the search and rescue related thing. One of the things I want to make sure everybody understands is that search and rescue is a free service that's provided typically through the sheriff's department in the western half of the U.S. and sometimes by the fire department in the eastern half of the U.S. But for that function of those government agencies coming and helping you out if you have an emergency in the wilderness, you almost always will not be charged for that. So don't hesitate to call for help if you need help and when you need help. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that if you do get on an air ambulance, once the sheriff or fire or Forest Service or Highway Patrol or Navy helicopter gets you out of the wilderness and you get on that air ambulance, you will be charged for that. That's a private service, and your insurance will likely cover that. That's something that you need to make sure is addressed. But again, for that search and rescue function, you are not charged for that. We're all volunteers for the most part. We fund all of our services, and we're more than happy to come out and help because sometimes it happens to us and we need help as well.
Yeah. So what Adam said, and there's already a couple of there's a comment in there. So they save me and then they bankrupt me. Somebody said that's not search and rescue. Search and rescue are the people that come out here to like stabilize you, do what they need to do to hopefully extract you. Sometimes if you're that bad off, they got to fly you out because you're that bad off, right? I mean, go ahead if you want to respond to that, Adam.
Yeah, no, it's true, and sometimes that is the safest way to get out, and other times it's just the easiest way out. And the what we like to say is that the fire department or the agency, sheriff's department agency running the helicopter chooses what we see as a high risk solution to potentially a low risk problem,
right.
and uses the helicopter anyway to kind of help justify its existence. But yeah, those helicopters are an amazing tool, and getting you out if you're broken or damaged, you will not get charged for that rescue function
Sure.
to get you out of the wilderness.
Could I propose a new slogan for when you have to call the helicopter? If you dying, you flying.
I like it. That's good.
So, is there any way that people can support what you do at your search and rescue volunteer area, or is there like a is there a county thing, or could you point people to a direction on how they can help? Because you guys pay for your own gear.
We
It's
do.
obviously a ton of your time. Literally, whenever I send Adam a message, he's like, "Well, today, that weekend, I'm going to be out in the middle of BFE doing a rappel course and dragging dummy bodies up and down a mountain for 5 hours." It's like, well, okay,
Yep.
that's a lot of time and energy that you spend. So, like, how can people help out?
Yeah, the best thing you can do is I would suggest looking up your local search and rescue team. So just, Google search your area and search for search and rescue and see how you can donate or contribute to support those teams. They are for the most part they're grant and volunteer funded. Some of the sheriff's department teams have sheriff's department funding that helps support them as well.
Mm-hmm.
But again, all the people are volunteers, and the team that I'm on, for example, has no government funding. We're strictly grant and individually funded through donations, grants, and our team members.
Geek with a side of nerd says, make sure you know who you call when camping. East County, San Diego, best to call. Cal Fire. Calling 911 is going to take forever. Is that, like, what do people do there? I know we got to wrap things up, but that's actually fascinating to me. So what do people
It,
do?
you have to work through that chain, right? There's what's called an authority having jurisdiction, an AHJ, and you got to get to that. And usually calling 911 is the best way to get to that quickly. So, if you call San Diego Mountain Rescue Team, we can't do anything for you. And we say call 911, go to the sheriff's department, because we only get to do what they tell us to do.
Mm-hmm. John 1 Galt says, I pay $15 a month for my Garmin Tech subscription. That includes my SAR insurance of $100K. That's not bad. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, so some services like that do provide SAR insurance. Fortunately, and probably the reason it's so cheap is that there's typically no fee for search and rescue. There are some states, I think New Hampshire actually has more of an inclination to charge for search and rescue.
I've heard about
they're
that.
run by
Well, I saw the
Department of
video.
Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
in that video there. And then other states and other authorities having jurisdiction have laws that say if you're doing something illegal or grossly negligent, they can potentially charge you. But I've actually never heard of anyone being charged for rescue by a government agency like that.
And I think we'll make this the last one from Craig. Buy a fishing license wherever you go. It covers the cost of any SAR, especially Montana. $20,000 for a helicopter trip. Pro tip. Is that true, Adam? Is that true?
I don't have a good answer for that. I don't know much about that.
It might be state by state or county by county even.
Sure, or even land management agency by land management agency. So the Park Service runs search and rescue in national parks, and they have their own rules as well. So.
Yeah, keep in mind that we're talking about non-federal property. So federal property generally runs a different kind of game for some of this stuff. Your local jurisdictions, local counties are going to be totally different. I know that even at the national level, at some of the national parks, they still work with local volunteers for search and rescue, right, Adam?
Right. Yep.
So, okay, Adam, as always, I amazing guest. You got the best information. You are so much fun. All the projects you're working on, the things you're doing. The link is in the description to Adam's website. It goes to his Amazon page where he distributes and sells a lot of his kits. His kits are very inexpensive. 'Tis the season. As things are getting colder, you're probably sitting in your shack going, yeah, I'm going to play ham radio while I'm here, but you may be looking for something to get ready for springtime if you live in an environment where it is truly cold. And what a better thing to have than a couple of Adam's kits. So, Adam, thanks again for being on the show. I really do appreciate your time. And we'll see you over in the after chat.
Yes, indeed. We'll see you there.
All right. All right, everybody. Again, it's going to take me a couple of minutes to turn things over for the after chat stream, but we'll be over there shortly. And we'll just be talking more of this stuff and a lot of ham radio as well. So I hope you join me. It'll be on this channel, but we really do encourage you to join us on the Discord, especially if you have questions. So link is in the description for all this stuff. And thanks again for watching. I'll play you out with the memes. See ya.